This is Saab Lofton, author and activist, and you're watching Peeps and Views. Enjoy.
So, welcome everybody to Peeps and Views. This is Proof in the Play, and I'm here with
Saab Lofton.
And he volunteered his services to answer a couple of questions of mine and to actually tell you what he got going on. My first question being that is this whole Black Lives Matter movement, how does that affect you, if it does at all? That was my question.
My father was murdered 30 years ago by a handful of teenagers desiring to be gangsters. Y'all know how it works. In order to prove yourself gangster material, you got to go out and murder somebody, you know, and it's sick, it's disgusting. And it just goes to show Black lives don't matter. If Black lives did matter, the black community would distance itself from its criminal elements. You see, the Japanese distanced themselves from the Yakuza. The Italians distanced themselves from the mafia. But only the black American community is foolish enough to actually embrace its criminal element. And that's got to stop. Anti-intellectualism is the greatest danger facing the black American community today. Believe it or not. It's even more powerful than poverty, than police brutality, than the prison industrial complex, because it's that willing ignorance, that too cool for school, foolish attitude that says, oh, that's just white folks stuff. That's what white folks are into, and I'm not gonna try it. I'm not gonna give it a chance. But see, that's a surefire way of ending up in a gang. You end up on the corner, on the streets, hanging out, wasting time. As the comedian Chris Rock said so aptly, time is as precious a resource as anything else. And you may not ever get the money that you deserve, but we will always have time. Even if you're in the penitentiary and you're in solitary confinement, you still got time. If it ain't nothing but to pray and meditate, there's still time that could be, something could be done with that time. But when you waste time just hanging out, when you waste time not giving things a chance because you're afraid of being considered white, considered a Tom or a whatnot, then you lose out over our fear of being seen as a sellout simply for being into something that a bunch of ignorant ass gangsters aren't into. Gangsters are not our role models. They are not barometers. They do not define the black community. Paul Robeson, the Black Panthers, W.E.B. Du Bois, these are black people, not the Bloods and the Crips.
On the lines of that note, right, here's my other question. Seattle area right now, as of the last 2 or 3 months, have been faced with a lot of murders that's been going on in the city. And how do you conduct yourself knowing that it's been so many murders? How do you go about your everyday life of...
I gave a speech at Westlake, I think it was 2011. And during that speech, I talked about how all the pigs need to be required to be limited to non-lethal only. Non-lethal weapons only, not less lethal excuses. In this day and age, here at the dawn of the 21st century, there are all these scientific advances, and oh goddamn well, somebody out there somewhere can duplicate the knockout gas from the Green Hornet. Why is this important? Because Black Lives Matter. If Black lives really matter, then y'all will take whatever measures necessary it is in order to do the proper research and development and perfect non-lethal weaponry. Tasers, tranquilizer darts. There's an ancient African substance called ioba, which is basically an African organic version of LSD. Our ancestors used to use it to knock folks out. Well, we need to bring that back. Whatever it takes, we need to make sure that every pig out there is limited to non-lethal weapons. Putting body cameras ain't gonna do a damn thing. All that's gonna do is desensitize folks. Because when the footage from the body cameras hits the press, you know these white folks are going to play that footage over and over and over and over and over again, and they're going to desensitize everyone to the death of black youth, which is the last thing we need. We don't need to film black murders, we need to prevent black murders.
So, I have one last question before we get into the things that you're doing. And being that you're very ambitious and a man striving to be better, what's the difficulties in dating or difficulties in being even in a relationship for that matter? What's the difficulties?
Well, see, I wasn't prepared for that one. Here's my answer to that question. I'm not the best role model in the world insofar as that goes because I'm weak. And here's what I mean by that. For the past 5 years, I have forsworn romance. I had tried to follow in the footsteps of Ralph Nader, of Huey P. Newton, of others who have, again, renounced romance, that they have given up any chance of there ever being a long-term relationship with someone, and they have totally devoted themselves to the cause. Ralph Nader being a preeminent example, someone who never got married, not even once, no kids, all the money that would otherwise go toward a wife and a wedding ceremony, and the reception, and diapers, and college tuition, and whatever else a husband / parent would have to pay. Imagine if all that money's donated to leftist charities instead. See, that was the goal. For 5 years I did that. And I held the line, as they say in Seinfeld, I was the master of my domain until noisy neighbors blasting their stereos drove me from my home. I had to sue my landlord. I had to move out, move back in with my mother at 45 years old, had to sleep on her couch, but that wasn't gonna last. So I got on Craigslist, their dating section, and I just put it out there. I just put all my cards on the table and I said, look, I'm as impoverished as a Charles Dickens character, and I am going to swear my life to storytelling. If I cannot tell a story for a living, then I won't live at all. I'm boycotting day jobs, which means that I am looking for the fabled, legendary sugar mama. Now, there are those who say that, such a woman doesn't exist, that she is as mythical as Sasquatch or the Loch Ness Monster, but I've proven it wrong. I'm living with a sugar mama right now. She is the breadwinner. She is the one who brings home the bacon. She is paying all the bills. And so that I am able to pursue my labor of love exclusively until I get famous or until I die, but in either event, she ain't gonna ask me to do anything other than write. And yeah, she does take what little money I make, but the point being though, is that I live in a suburban estate, a palatial estate. I live in the kind of house that you would see on a 70s sitcom. I live in a Brady Bunch house, compared to some of the knuckleheads that are talking smack. My God, yeah, I'm living far better than them. Of course, it's not my house, it's her house, but still. So I guess the answer to the question is, an artist has to find someone that is willing to be with an artist without trying to change the artist. So in other words, all the artists out there, I would suggest you limit yourself to porn and masturbation. However, if you just can't limit yourself to that, if you're just that weak, then my suggestion is rather, look for a sugar mama. Get on Craigslist, do what I did, put your cards on the table, and just hope that, when you go fishing, there's a bite.
Okay. The most honest answer I have gotten ever from that question. If you had anything to say or anything that you need to get off your chest, this is the time to do so.
A man named Stetson Kennedy, back in late 1945, early 1946, white man, investigative journalist, he infiltrated the KKK, gathered a bunch of intel, all their secret words and passphrases, all the stuff that, the Klan wanted to keep to themselves. But he couldn't do anything with the intel because half the cops and half the FBI were either members of the KKK at the time, or they were sympathetic. Neither event, he couldn't do anything with it. Couldn't even go to the press. So he got the bright idea of going to DC Comics. Now back then, this was pre-TV, so all they had was the Superman radio serial. Stetson Kennedy went to them and said, look man, World War II was last year, you can't keep having your boy fight the Nazis forever, so how about having a story arc in your radio serial where Superman fights the KKK. And sure enough, in June of 1946, they had a radio serial called The Clan of the Fiery Cross. Within 1 month, recruitment of the KKK plummeted to 0. Within 2 years, people were showing up at KKK rallies just to laugh at them. Keeping in mind that in 1924, according to Professor Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, a must-read history book if there ever was one, according to Professor Zinn, there were 4 million members of the KKK. 4 million members. Today, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, there are now 4,000 members of the KKK. Now, how did we go from 4 million to 4,000 in less than a century without a revolution, without some politically correct censorship? How? One Superman story did it. If one Superman story in 1946 crippled the Ku Klux Klan, my short story about old Kal-El will finish their asses off once and for all. This right here is the answer, the solution to the problem. If this short story right here was read by every white American, within a year, white supremacy would be abolished. In our lifetime, this could happen. This is why the name of the game is fame. This is why I get so utterly infuriated when I have to compete with trivia for people's attention. I get on Facebook, I don't want to see pictures of kittens, and I don't want to see anyone's grandkids. I want to see pictures of youngins. I don't want to see sunsets. I don't want to see folks' vacations on Facebook. What I want to see on Facebook is people promoting this. Because I'm tired of the whining and the moaning and the commiserating. Every time something like Ferguson or Charleston happens, what do I hear? Oh, Lord have mercy, another tragedy, another atrocity. No, goddammit, no more complaining. It's time to start doing. And this is action. I know it's a funny thing for an author to say deeds, not words, but when the words can inspire deeds, you see, then those words are important. And this ain't Twilight. This ain't some Harlequin romance with some Fabio lookalike on the cover with a ripped shirt looking like Doc Savage. No, goddammit, this is something important. Actually important. This short story, once again, if it was read by every white American, it would defeat white supremacy once and for all. And the KKK would cease to exist. Again, going by the research that clearly shows that a Superman story in 1946 crippled the Ku Klux Klan. One Bree Newsom scurrying up a flagpole like a monkey, censoring, committing an act of Stalinistic censorship. It wasn't that. It wasn't some lawsuit at Hayden Lake. It sure as hell wasn't some adrenaline-addicted white boy dressed like a ninja during May Day beating up a skinhead in the streets. No, none of those things had a damn thing to do with hurting white supremacy. But this did. And I don't give a damn if the commies can wrap their brains around this or not. You know, yes, I know Superman is a corporately owned character, so what? If the commies can't abide by a Superman story defeating white supremacy, if the commies can't wrap their brains around the concept of a fictional character, an imaginary character, doing something that they weren't able to do, so be it. I ain't worried about their wounded pride. I'm only caring about saving lives. The hell with ideology. I'm worried about getting things done.
So as an author, what is your motivation when you're writing these short stories?
Spite. Spite is my one reason why communism has yet to take hold in America is because of the entirely understandable fear that the commies will censor, torture, and murder their enemies. Well, after Bree Newsom did her impersonation of Curious George, screwing up a flagpole like a monkey to censor a Confederate flag, after you've got all these fools on Facebook fantasizing about torturing Klansmen, after you've got the commies themselves going around saying it's okay to kill people, is it any wonder why folks are hesitant to pick Senator Sanders over that corporate whore Hillary? Bottom line, you need to start acting like Superman if you expect the masses to follow you. You want to win hearts and minds? There's only one way to get things done, the right way, the proper way. And it's about time folks recognize